Kia ora, Year 9. Here's question 6 from the practice test number 1. I am going to keep these videos really short and just do a little bit at once. So I'm sorry for those of you who are finding that a bit annoying. So this one's just going to have the following questions in it on factorizing. And it starts off with the really basic idea of factorizing and it moves up to some harder problems. So let's get into it and see how we go. So the first question asks us to factorize 6p minus 9q. So the idea here is we always look at the numbers and then we look at the variables and we find the highest common factor for each thing. So this one here has got a coefficient here of 6 and a coefficient here of 9. The highest common factor here is 3. So that's the first thing that's going to come outside the brackets. And then we look at the variables. And here we've got p, here we've got q. There's nothing in common between those two things. So it's going to be 3 times what will give me 6p? Well, it'll be 3 times 2p. Minus 3 watts will give me 9q. It'll be 3q. Now, there's never any reason to get a factorizing problem wrong in algebra because we can check it. And the way that we check it gives us great practice at expanding the brackets. So if we start with this one here, let's expand that out and see what we get. Well, we'll get 3 2s are 6, so 6p minus this 9q. So we're happy with that one. Okay, now the next one has just got one variable, it's got b. We have to factorize 24b minus 56. So I should have said what I'd like you to do, as usual, is to pause the video, have a go at the questions on your own first, and write them down somewhere in the book, because we get better at doing maths usually when we're writing it out and forming some good habits. So let's look at this one, 24b minus 56. So what's the highest common factor of 24 and 56? So what we're doing here is we're thinking about skip counting. And if you're having issues with that, you can think about, let's look at 56 and think about a factor tree. So what have we got? Well, we've got 4 and 14. Probably not the most obvious one you're going to think of. So let's start with what that would be. You might start with 2 watts of 56, 2 28s, and then we get 2 14s. So this is going to give me the prime factorization, right, which is a good thing to revise as well. You can see here that this is telling me that 56 is equal to 8 7s. And if we think about 24, what are the factors of that? Well, we could write 24 as 2 12s, but we could also write it as 3 8s. So that's just a way to think about what's the highest common factor of those two numbers. It's 8. We need that highest common factor because we're going to factorize here. So we're going to get 8 watts will give me 24b, or 8 times 3b, minus 8 watts will give me 56, 7. Now, it's a good idea to look at this and see if we really have taken out the highest common factor here. And in this case we have, but I'm going to do it again and show you what happens if we go wrong with that. Okay, so let's suppose that we don't notice that 8's a common factor. How can we tell when we get to the end of the question? So suppose we just notice that 2 is a common factor. So we'll take out 2, and that gives me 2 times what will give me 24b, 2 times 12b minus 28. Now, here, you haven't fully factorized because there's still a factor that you can take out here. And hopefully, when you look at that factor, you can see that this 12 and this 28 have still got some stuff stuck inside them, right? They've got a common factor left in there of 4. So we can do another step. We can go 2 times 4, and now we're looking at this. So 4 watts will give me 12b, 4 times 3b, minus 4 watts will give me 28, 7. And you can see that when we clean that up, here's what we get. We get 8 into 3b minus 7. So some of you will be watching and going, why did she just go through that so slowly, when most of you will have seen that this was the right answer to start with? And the answer is that it's really, really easy to miss common factors, especially if you're in a hurry. And I'm just trying to show you that there are ways to fix up those errors, right? And it's a really good habit to get into when you're doing algebra, to just step back at the end and look at your answer and see if it has been fully factorized. Right, let's go on to C. 28d cubed minus 21d to the power of 4. So this time we've got numbers coefficients and we've got variables. So 28d cubed minus 21d to the power of 4 has got a common factor in the coefficients of 7. And here we've got d cubed, and here we've got d to the power of 4. So the highest common factor here is d cubed, right? Because this is d times d times d, and this is d times d times d times d. So what do I have to do now to 7d cubed to get 28d cubed? It's just times by 4 minus here 3d. Right, and as usual, if we expand it out, we can check that we get back to this. Right, now the last one. We've got two variables this time. We've got x's and we've got y's, and we've got a 16 and a 20. So let's start by writing down the expression that we're starting with. Right, what's my highest common factor of 16 and 20? It's 4. Look at the x's. What's the highest common factor of x cubed and x? In other words, the highest power. Well, it's going to be just x. And then let's look lastly at the y's. So we've got y squared and we've got y cubed. The highest common factor is y squared. Now, let's work out what we have to multiply by. To match the 16, we need 4 4's. Here I've got x. I need to have x cubed, so I have to multiply by x squared. And I'm all good on the y squareds. Moving on to this term, I've got minus 5, because 4 5's will give me 20. I'm good on the x's, but I need to have y cubed, so I multiply by y. Right, so that's my final answer for that one. Let's just take a look at why it's my final answer. We'll just clean up some of this mess. Right, it's my final answer because when I look at this bit, I don't have any common factors left. Right, I've got a 4 here and I've got a 5 here. They don't have a common factor except for 1. And I've got x squared here and y here. So we're done. So that's a little bit of factorizing practice. Education Perfect is fabulous on this, and if you need references to the Alpha textbook or the Beta textbook for this, just send me an email and I'll let you know where to go. Thanks for watching.